Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. It is Monday, and Monday is the day in which we play very procedure-heavy games. Mechanics Monday. That's what I've been calling it. And today we're starting a new game. So last week we finished off. I think it was last week. Maybe it was the week before. We finished off Alone Against Nyarlathotep, which was the last multi-session mini campaign that we were doing on Mondays, and this week we are starting a new game. We're starting Ker Nethalas Into the Midnight Throne, which is a single-player and co-op dungeon crawling game. Mostly single-player. I think it has some guides how to run it co-op, but it seems to be kind of written solo first. And it's by a very prolific game designer called Alex T. I've not played any of his games, but he has designed a bunch, and I believe Ker Nethalas is regarded as a kind of easy-ish one to get into out of his games, so I think it is a good starting point. And the premise of the game is that Ker Nethalas is this kind of necropolis where the dead bodies get chucked, and we've been executed, but we survived our execution. So I'm just going to read the kind of intro text from the Creating Your Survivor chapter. Before you even open your eyes, a wave of nauseating stench hits you, immediately causing you to heave, the bitter taste of bile in your mouth. Your whole body hurts, and you can feel an intense burning around your neck. With some hesitation, you manage to sit up from the pile of soft refuse you appear to be lying on top of. To your horror, you quickly discover this is not garbage, but a pile of decaying human corpses. Bloated faces and sunken eyes stare blankly at you, illuminated by a single ray of sunlight coming from very high above your head. A flood of memories come rushing back. You were executed. You quickly stand up, your head swimming, while you check your throat. You immediately wince in pain, the flesh tender to the touch. There's no doubt about it. You were hanged. You try to speak, but the words come out as a grunt, your throat too damaged and dry to produce any other sound. You turn away from the rotting pile of flesh and look around you. You find yourself within a large, empty chamber, the only light coming from a hole some 30 meters up above. There's no way you'll be able to climb back up there. Rats the size of cats edge around you, nibbling on the dead, too fat and well-fed to even bother hiding or fighting each other for the best bits. Ahead of you, you see what appears to be a crack in the wall, wide enough for you to go through. There's no doubt in your mind where you are. Ker Nethalas, the Midnight Throne. Everyone in Veldonia has heard the stories about this vast underground necropolis that was once the capital of the Valorian Ascendancy before their demise. You also know that nobody's ever come back alive from such a place. Considering you're in rags, injured and exhausted, your chances are not good. Somehow, though, you've cheated death, and there must be a way out of here. Hesitantly, you head towards the breach in the wall, hoping to find something you can use to increase your chances of survival. So, that's the backstory. We are a criminal. There's a random crimes table we can roll upon to determine what sort of criminal we were, who was executed, but we somehow survived this, and we have been cast down into this horrible necropolis that was the capital of a vast a powerful necromantic kingdom once upon a time. And yeah, our motive is to escape. I don't know if there's actually a means of escaping in the game. I think it is just a dungeon crawl until we either decide to end it or die. But it's possible that there might be a random event that you find the exit or something. Anyway, this book, just before I get into it further, this is the print-on-demand book from DriveThruRPG. So as it is print-on-demand, you can see it is glue-bound. The pages are not all perfectly straight. They're some of them are a little bit wobbly. And there are a few places in these beginning of chapter full page art things where I guess the ink had stuck the pages together, and so I had to tear them to open them a little bit. But minor problems. It's print on demand. That's kind of what you get. So I do want to say that these chapter illustrations look really cool. Each chapter has one, and they look good. Let's just flip through. I think there's a really cool one for the monster chapter. Let's find that. Yeah, look at this. This guy's got 3 skulls. He's holding a sword and a mace standing next to some sort of open crypt. I don't want to fight this guy. That's pretty cool. So this is a solo dungeon crawling game. It is a skill-based game. We have levels and skills, and I've read through this cover to cover. Not all of the combat encounters, but I've read through this, and it doesn't seem too complicated. There is a fair bit of depth to it, but if I had to compare this to other games that we've played on the stream, it's closest to Morkin, although this is just the dungeon crawling part, whereas Morkin was more overworld exploration with occasional forays into dungeons. So, just looking at the table of contents here, we start off with just a little bit of introduction about the game, about what sort of dice you need. It's all of the dice. Like the themes, a bit about the setting. We don't really care about the setting because we're just trapped in this endless dungeon. But that's that. Then we have this long section on creating your character, and most of this is made up of the masteries, which are kind of like packages of abilities. So let's just flip to a random one. What I got here, Duskblade. So, as I said, this is a skill-based game. It doesn't use classes, but it does have these masteries. And we will start the game with 2 masteries, and we can potentially get a third later on. I'm not sure if we can get more than that. But 2, 3, I think we can swap out our third mastery. And they're kind of like packages of skills. So if we choose to be a Duskblade, for example, it says you're a master of the art of assassination, coming swiftly and unexpectedly and executing your opponents with superb finesse and terrifying precision. It gives us a passive ability, so this is plus 2d4 psychic damage to targets unaware of you, and then 5 tiers of abilities that have a cost of ether, which is kind of the magic points of this system. And we will start at tier 1 in 2 masteries. And that's kind of how we like customize our character. After that, we have the rules, so the core rules of the game, like fighting and sanity and whatnot. After that, we have another chapter which has the dungeon rules specifically, so managing light, how to roll up new dungeon rooms, determine if doors are locked, random encounters, all that sort of thing. Then we have quite a long list of monsters. So this is page 100 and is the one we just looked at with the cool image here. So we get some description of what how monster stat blocks work, and then we have some random encounter tables that will point us to these like 1-page monster stat blocks that come with like a paragraph of lore and then the mechanics. Each part of the dungeon has a boss monster called an overseer, so these are detailed from page 165. And it's a boss monster, so it's substantially more powerful than regular monsters. So here's the Carnage Devourer, for instance. They all have a page of art. They have some more fancy attacks and things they can do. And the Overseer is a really powerful threat. I watched an actual play of Ker Nethalas I believe it was by the Lone Adventurer over on YouTube, who faced one of the Overseers and got completely crushed. Like, he could barely do anything. He was just wiped out. And you don't actually need to face the Overseers to progress the Ker Nethalas. You can, like, evade them. But there are reasons to do so. So, if you take out an Overseer, you'll get a lot of experience points from it, which then, helps you level up, unlocks new abilities for your masteries, and so on. They might drop valuable loot. And also, if you take out the Overseer, all the monsters in their area of the dungeon, which is called a domain, get weaker. So there are reasons to do it, although it's a risk. After that, we have spoils and loot, which is, gear, magic items, all that stuff. And then finally, at the very end of the book, we have getting started. So I believe this confuses some people. Like, why is how to begin the game at the very end of the book? But obviously, you read a book cover to cover, right? And so it makes sense to have the introduction at the end. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Maybe most people don't read RPG books cover to cover. And I like that we get a pre-made dungeon to start your first game. So it kind of eases you into the mechanics. Like when you first start playing, you don't need to also get to grips with the dungeon generation procedure. You can just deal with like random encounters and combat and exploration. And then once you've completed this like tutorial dungeon, you can then get into the like actual dungeon generation procedures. And this like little starter dungeon, it comes with like some rooms have certain like gear in them that you can pick up, so that you're a bit better equipped when you go into the dungeon proper. But it does say that if you want to skip this, you can just like take the starting gear yourself and start rolling up a dungeon immediately. Also, I should add that there is a new edition of Ker Nethalas coming. It is coming this month, I believe, is the plan. I'd kind of hoped it would be released by the time I got to playing this, but you know, I wrapped up other stuff that I was streaming too soon, I suppose. So we are playing the first edition of Ker Nethalas, and I think this is what we'll use for this game. And when the second edition is released, the Gravebound edition, maybe I'll like start a stream by just comparing the differences and talking about what's changed. They are fairly minor differences, as I understand it. It's mostly organizational stuff. The biggest difference, however, is, let's just dive a bit into the mechanics here. So if you look at combat on page 65, the way combat works, or the way damage works in Ker, I don't know, maybe it's not in the combat section. Let's see, is there a table for damage? I kind of assumed it would be in the combat section. Here we go. Dealing damage. So the way damage works in Ker Nethalas is we will roll a die. Generally, we'll be rolling a d6, but maybe we'll be able to roll better dice or add modifiers to our d6 as time goes on. And then if we roll like a 6, we don't deal 6 points of damage, and then look at this table and see, oh, a 6 means 2 points of damage. So every attack involves like consulting this table. And the next edition of Ker Nethalas is getting rid of this, so we'll just roll dice, and that is how much damage will be dealt. So the damage table is gone, which means all of the monsters have been rebalanced, all their HP redone, and abilities adjusted. So that's a pretty substantial change, but the rest of it, as I understand, is pretty straightforward. Not massively different from what we've got at the moment. And there is more to Ker Nethalas than just this book. The designer has put out... there's like a zine that has a few issues adding like new masteries and things. There is a whole extra little like short book of new masteries. There's a supplement adding a new domain for like fighting rat folk or something. I think there's an expansion for like running like arena fights. So there is stuff to Ker Nethalas beyond just this basic book. But we'll just be starting with this for now. So let's switch over to the tabletop view and make a character. So, as I said, I've read through the book, but I've not actually played it before, so we will be figuring this out together. So, creating your survivor. So, yes, let's work out first what crime we were. Okay, first of all, we need a name. I decided to go for Amric. It's like Elric, but not. We are level 1. We have no XP. And let's decide which crime, or let's determine which crime we were accused of. 5. Piracy. Seafaring individuals that attack ships, plundering their cargo and often resorting to violence against the crew. Pirates are a significant concern for Valdonia due to the importance of its maritime trade. Okay. Right, and yes, I should read this out. So, you are alive, barely but alive. You have been punished for a crime that you may or may not have committed. I think we probably were a pirate. It's cool. But Anira smiles upon you. Against all odds, you're still among the living. To begin with, choose a name, gender, age, and overall appearance. I don't think there's actually space for like gender and appearance. It's just, I guess let's note it down here. Bale, I kind of imagine him as like kind of, I don't know, kind of thin. Probably the Elric influence. Thinking of a fairly thin guy. And actually, let's just quickly run through the character sheet because that's often a good way to get a feel for a system. So we have our basic stats. So ether is like magic points. We have 2 pools of health. We have health and toughness. And toughness we recover very quickly. Most damage will go to toughness. When our toughness is exhausted, damage will go to our health, which recovers much more slowly. Some things also deal damage directly to health. So we have like 2 tiers of health, pretty much. We also have sanity points, which can cause bouts of madness if we go insane. We have our skills, not a big list of skills, but I know enough. They have some starting values. Some things start at 0, though. Got space for weapons, our masteries. So it looks like we do only get up to 3 masteries. After that, we have some madness, which we get if our sanity drops too low. We have perks. I don't really know where they come from. We have some notes about damage because we like our gear or whatever might give us certain like immunities or vulnerabilities or whatever to certain damage types. So it is somewhat crunchy. And then finally we got inventory space and money and supplies and all this stuff. And we can have up to 3 companions, which we will find during play. So I've copied over 3 companion sheets. It's essentially a simpler version of the player character sheet. I've also copied over the exploration flowchart, which we'll be referring to a lot as we get used to the game. And finally, a sheet for notes about the current domain we're exploring. That is the current section of the dungeon, along with its overseer. So that's all the sheets. There is a fair bit to keep track of, but hopefully it's not going to be too confusing. Yes, we need to note down that we were a pirate. Male, pirate, thin. There we go. That's all we need to know. Oh, child theft. Kidnapping or abducting children for various reasons, including ransom, forced labor, or adoption without consent. Huh. Alright. Right, attributes. So, health. When health drops to 0, we are dead. There are no death saves or anything, just dead. Health, starting health is d6 plus 8. That is 11 health. It's an okay number, I guess. Could be worse. 11 out of 11. So health is only recovered under very specific circumstances. So it is tough. Next we have toughness. Toughness represents your character's resilience and ability to sustain non-critical damage. Small cuts, bruises, and similar minor accidents that pose non-life-threatening damage and are easy and fast to recover from are reflected by toughness. So initial toughness is 2d6 plus 10. That's 19. That's pretty good. So we'll essentially be able to soak up 19 points of damage before it starts going to our health. Ether. Ether is a representation of a character's spiritual and psychic power and is used to cast spells. Ether starts at d6 plus 8. 10 ether. Oops. Sanity represents your character's ability to remain fully lucid and sane despite the many horrors they witness. Character's initial sanity score is d6 plus 8. Okay, a lot of things seem to be d6 plus 8. Okay. It's another 11. We have magic resistance, so this represents your character's ability to resist the effects of magic directed towards them. It is a crucial element of any character's survival, so stacking it with items that grant magic resistance is a recommended survival strategy. So magic resistance works as a skill. I should say this is a D100 roll under system, so if your magic resistance is 80, you want to roll equal to or under 80. And criticals are if if you roll doubles on the D100. So like if you roll like 11 or 22 or 33 or whatever. We start with 20 points in magic resistance. So this means we have a 20% chance of resisting a magical effect, which is not great. The playthrough I saw with, I'm pretty certain it was Lone Adventurer. The overseer he faced basically exclusively dealt magic damage, and because of the 20% magic resistance, basically every attack was getting through, which is quite tough. So I feel I probably re-roll that overseer if that's the one I get for the starting domain, as it did seem. I've looked through a few of the overseers, and that one seemed especially tough. I don't like to die in the very first dungeon. I like a maybe slightly easier time getting started, since I've not played before. Anyway, moving on. Exhaustion. Exhaustion represents fatigue, exposure, hunger, injuries, and other physical factors which gradually wear a character down. Go for too long without sleep or food, or strenuous physical activity without resting, start accruing exhaustion. So we have an exhaustion resistance, which kind of soaks up points of exhaustion. And when our current exhaustion exceeds our exhaustion resistance, we'll start getting penalties. So we start with 0 exhaustion resistance. We have our light source. So light sources last like 10 rooms, I think. Whatever. We'll get into this when we get to the dungeon here, but we'll check off one box every room, and when it gets to a certain point, probably when it's full, our light source will go out, and that will be a problem. Right, so those are our, I was going to say attributes, but not really attributes. So now we have skills. So skills represent a character's prowess in a variety of fields. It can go from 0, which means you can't succeed on a roll because it is a D100 system. D100 goes from 1 to 100, through to 80 or beyond. And skills can never go above 80 in natural circumstances. Magic items may let you break that rule, but that means 80 is where we top out. So some of these have starting scores, and to start with, we assign these points here. So 60 to 1 weapon skill, 40 to 1 weapon skill, 30 to 3 skills, 20 to 3 skills, and 10 to 4 skills. And we can't assign 2 different skill allotments to the same skill. So we actually can't boost anything up to 80 at this point. Okay, so start with our primary weapon skill. So for weapons, we have bladed weapons, bludgeoning weapons, and shafted weapons. We also have unarmed combat and fist weapons, which actually, if we were to put our 60 in fist weapons, this starts at 20, so that would go up to 80. Now, as always, I have like 3 copies of the PDF open. So I'm just going to have a quick look at the weapons and see if... I don't know the difference between like bladed weapons, bludgeoning weapons, and shafted weapons, so I'm not sure what I might prefer. I just want to see, like, does it say that they have certain bonuses in different situations? It looks like we have a lot of different weapon traits. Was it maybe at the beginning of the weapons section? Not sure what the difference is. Let's have a look at... Is there an index at the back of the book? We've got an index of tables, but not an index of words. Let's just quickly search the PDF for bludgeoning. Oh, it's going to be in the skill descriptions, isn't it? Let's have a look. Bladed weapons. No, it actually doesn't say. It's probably going to explain it in like the combat section or something, I suppose. Okay, damage type, right. So our different weapons have different damage types. So bludgeoning damage is caused mainly by crushing weapons such as a mace, but also environmental effects such as falling rocks. Bludgeoning damage ignores 1 point of armor. Okay. Piercing is certain weapons. It deals +1 damage on the character acts first in the initiative. Slashing is +1 damage when striking a body part with no armor. Is there no shafted? Wonder what the advantage of shafted weapons is. See, shafted. Sure, there's got to be a reason to pick like a shafted weapon specifically. Maybe not. I can't see anything specific about shafted weapons. I might just be missing something. It might come up when we look in the combat rules. Let's go for bladed weapons. I like dealing +1 point of damage for unarmored body parts. So bladed weapons, 60. And maybe we'll put that 40 in bludgeoning, because bludgeoning weapons ignore 1 point of armor, which is sounds useful. So maybe we might carry around like a bladed weapon for lightly armored opponents and a bludgeoning weapon for heavily armored opponents. I have +30 to 3 skills, so let's just skim through the list. So dodge I mean, honestly, all the skills are going to be useful, right? They're not going to have a useless skill. That would just be bad game design. Let's see what seems most useful. So dodge, obviously very useful. I think we're going to put a +30 in dodge for sure. Dodge starts at 10, so that'll bring dodge up to 40. Let's see. We have what is endurance? Avoiding being damaged by poisons and diseases. That sounds good. Medicine is used for recovering toughness. Perception. I know is used to determine initiative, and so I want to have. I want to boost perception, so let's put 30 points in perception, which would bring that up to 50. I have one more 30 to go. So endurance. So avoid. Again, they all sound good. So I'm thinking either stealth or thievery. So stealth is used to hide or avoid notice. Character's stealth check is usually opposed by a potential observer's perception check. It would be useful to be able to sneak by enemies sometimes. Like if we're a bit injured, it'd be nice to be able to avoid a fight. But thievery is used to disarm traps or open locks, and we'll be rolling. Is it on here, perhaps? We'll be rolling a lot to determine if things are locked or trapped. So I feel it would be useful to be able to deal with that sort of thing. So yeah, I think let's go for thievery for our third 30. Thievery doesn't start at anything, so we just have 30 in thievery. Alright, so now we have 3 skills we can put 20 in. I think I'm going to go for endurance, because having at least something in resisting poison and disease, I think it would seem, if the game has poison and disease mechanics, it would be dumb not to put any points into it. I'll put another 20 into stealth. And then maybe acrobatics. Yeah, acrobatics starts at 10, so putting 20 points in it, it goes up to 30. Then we have +10 to 4 skills. So I think oh, hang on, with acrobatics and athletics are different. Okay, let's put a 10 in athletics. I might swap around athletics and acrobatics. I'll think about it. Let's put a 10 in... What's resolve for? Oh, resolve is used for withstanding the psychological impact of exposure to the horrors within the necropolis. We use it to resist sanity loss. Okay. We want some points in resolve. 2 more skills to go. I'm thinking scavenge, probably. This lets us find useful bits and pieces that might be lying around. What, 10 points in scavenge. Then we have one last 10-pointer. So we don't have any points so far in medicine, reason, or shafted weapons. I don't think we need shafted weapons since we have 3 other weapon skills that have non-zero points, and so we have 16 bladed, 40 in bludgeoning, and the default 20 in unarmed combat. So I think we can skip shafted weapons safely. That comes down to medicine or reason. So medicine lets us recover toughness if we also have bandages. And we can use it to remove the bleeding condition. Okay, that sounds useful. Reason is used to determine, is used to understand things and uncover mysteries, as well as decipher signs and symbols. They both sound useful. But let's see, what have we got here? Is that character like a fighter? They are a fighter because their best skills are the weapon skills. I think every Ker Nethalas character is a fighter. Neither is a bad choice. I think the only bad choices were putting in shafted weapons or unarmed combat. I'm just gonna roll for it. 1 to 3, it's gonna be medicine. 4 to 6, it's gonna be reason. Okay, reason. Now let's see, do we want to swap around acrobatics and athletics? So acrobatics, character can roll beneath a closing gate, swing across a chasm on a rope, or hold their balance on a precarious ledge by passing an acrobatics check. Athletics is to undertake difficult feats of lifting heavy weights, sprinting, climbing, or jumping. I'm not sure like what specifically they're going to be used for, so it's hard to say. I think athletics probably feels more generally useful. So I think I'll swap it. So yeah, our final allocation is 20 in acrobatics, 30 in athletics, 60 bladed weapons, 40 bludgeoning weapons, 40 in dodge, 20 in endurance, 0 in medicine, 50 in perception, 20 in resolve, 10 in reason, 10 in scavenge, 0 in shafted weapons, 20 in stealth, 30 in thievery, and the default 20 in unarmed combat and fist weapons. Okay. And there's a little note here about there not being any ranged weapons because it's a dungeon, right? It always felt a little odd to me that you have characters going down into the dungeon firing bows, or loosing bows, I should say. But they're pretty cramped places. Anyway, next we have masteries. So, masteries define your personal path, becoming the foundation of the type of character you want to play with. Each mastery represents a specific style of play. Toolbox that will grant you access to specific powers and moves. So we pick 2 masteries. Actually, I'll have 0 current exhaustion. Let's note that down. So this is going to involve a lot of flipping around. So what I'm thinking here is I don't want anything especially complicated, since it's my first time playing. So I want like 2 simple looking but complementary masteries, and that probably means like fighting based ones rather than like magic or anything. So let's see, Abyssal Reaver, 1 temporary toughness for each encounter you defeat. It remains until you take a rest. That sounds useful. You can deal special damage. Also, each mastery we get like a little table of like, where did you learn this horrifying thing that you know? Arcanist is magic damage. I'm leaning away from the Arcanist because of its passive ability. Each time a creature receives arcane damage as a result of your abilities, increase your arcane damage by +1 against that same creature. It's just an extra number to track per enemy, so I'm going to pass on that one. Brawler, that sounds very simple. But increase the damage dealt while unarmed to d6 and by +4 using fist weapons. We're not using unarmed attacks, so we're not going to be a brawler. Bulwark, ignore all penalties from wearing any sort of armor. I don't even know what the penalties from wearing armor are, but that's useful. We can reduce damage. Okay, I quite like the sound of this one. This one sounds pretty straightforward. Let's note this down as a potential. Bulwark, page 26. I'll skim through the rest before deciding, but I like this one because it sounds very straightforward. Duskblade rather is assassination. Extra damage to targets unaware of us. We don't have good stealth, so we don't want to do this. An emissary. This is kind of a cleric. That's his heal sanity. And cure wounds. This one also sounds pretty good. Flamecaster. You can summon a fire elemental. That sounds neat. We have the ice version of fire. A grave caller lets you raise skeletons and command undead minions. I don't really want to do this because I don't really want the ones that give us minions at like tier 1. So like the Flamecaster and Frost Weaver are okay because you get the elementals, you get the minions at tier 4. So we'll be well into the game by the time this happens, but the Gravecaller, we get minions at tier 1. So we'll be immediately dealing with that, and I don't really want to do that. This is a fairly complicated sounding passive ability. Let's skip that one. Tracker gives advantage on scavenge and perception checks. Perception we have 50 at, so that's pretty good. Scavenge we only have 10 in. Tier 1 is every time you make a successful scavenging. I feel like scavenge isn't good enough to be a tracker. I think we'd want more points in it, even though it gives us advantage. So the way advantage works in Ker Nethalas is we roll our D100, and then, well, okay, this is a bad example because this would be a crit. So we roll our D100, and then so here we have 18. If it is advantageous, we can swap the order of the dice. So we could read this as 81, which we wouldn't do in this case because 81 is a much higher number and therefore is worse. Also, my dice slightly blurry. Let's just fiddle with the camera focus just in case there. There we go. That's much better. I feel like I'm going slightly mad with the dice camera because I've got slight digression here. I've got like the camera arm mounted to the side of I have like the camera arm mounted to the side of my desk, and whenever I'm streaming, I put the camera in place and I extend the arm, and I've got this place here marked out in red tape on my desk. So everything is should be in the, like exactly the same place every time. And yet there seems to be two different configurations of the camera. So today everything was like off by like half a centimeter, but bit more than that maybe, off by maybe a centimeter, like in this direction, and it was also slightly rotated, and I guess the vocal distance was different, but all the stand is all exactly the same. I don't know why. It's very odd. Anyway, returning to picking mastery. So definitely Bulwark is our first mastery. I don't want to pick this one because we can see in darkness, and I feel I want to engage with the light source mechanics for this first game. Weapon Master. Ooh. Quite like this. This fits nicely with our Bulwark. Let's get the Bulwark open as well. So a Bulwark, ignore all penalties for wearing any sort of armor. We can see, so at tier 1 we're able to see the enemy strike incoming, spend 2 ether to reduce any incoming damage by d6. Then tier 2, shield bash, we can slam your opponent with the shield, dazing them for d4 rounds. This is an action, so this is instead of attacking, but that could be useful, because d4 rounds will probably daze them for longer than the round we've lost. Sword and board. If your weapon strike hits, make a free attack that deals d4 damage. So I guess we still need to roll for, requires a melee attack check, so we need to roll for our second attack. Battle form, increase our toughness by, this backwards L means your level. Increase your toughness by your level permanently. Every time your level is increased, you must increase your toughness accordingly. That's like a passive thing we get at level 4. At level 5, we are immune to bludgeoning damage. So the Bulwark is all about, I guess the first 2 tiers of the Bulwark are kind of about like reducing damage, reducing damage, making it harder for enemies to hit us, getting free attacks in. The Weapon Master is about increasing our combat abilities and preventing our enemies from defending. I think these complement each other fairly nicely. Let's just have a look through the rest. Actually, this lets us use our acrobatics to avoid attacks or dodge track. I mean, our dodge is much better than acrobatics, so that's not useful. Okay, so Wraith Spawn lets us deal bonus damage on attacks. That also fits nicely with the Bulwark and the Weapon Master. Okay, I'm kind of curious how quickly ether recovers, because all these abilities use ether, and so I don't want to pick. It's like the Zealot, for instance, sounds pretty cool. Like at tier 2, for the cost of 5 ether, we can deal 2d10 damage. That's a lot of damage, but we only have 10 points of ether. So like, how often can we actually use this ability? I guess it's going to be in the rules somewhere. Let's just have a quick search for ether. Okay, so we can use potions to recover ether. Can we recover it by these are magic items? What about when we like camp? Do we recover ether then? Okay, I'll just go on page 64. Let's go look at. Oh no, the page number isn't hyperlinked. That'll be a nice improvement. 64. Is it on something? Am I just missing it? Let's go back to the beginning of the book. Let's just look for ether throughout the whole book. Oh, okay. Right. I see. So ether is... Let's go look at our... Okay. Holy weapon, it costs 5 ether sustained. This means that it costs 5 ether, and the 5 ether comes back when we dismiss the holy weapon effect. Purifying flames just costs 5 ether, which means our ether pool goes down by 5 until we recover it separately. But so there's 2 different ways that ether can be spent, temporarily and permanently. How do we recover it though? All ether is replenished upon entering a new room. Okay, so realistically, if we were to get so given that we have 10 ether, something that costs 5 ether, we can use twice per combat. So the Purifying Flames, it deals 2d10 fire damage. That's a lot of damage. We'd be able to do that twice in a fight, pretty much. The Wraith Spawn abilities don't seem to need ether, though, or most of them. So the tier 1 ability just requires an attack check. So I guess, so it says tier 1 bash, 1 standard action, requires a melee attack check. You strike suddenly and violently at your opponent, increasing damage dealt by d4. So does this just mean that I can always just declare when I'm making an attack that it's going to be I'm bashing? Surely it can't mean that, because if it does, if I can just declare that every single attack is bashing, then every single attack I'm dealing d6 plus d4 damage. It's just there's no reason not to do it. I feel I must be missing something there. There must be a reason you can't do that every round. Similarly, the sweeping blow for tier 2. 1 action requires a single attack check. You strike all enemies in melee range with a single swipe of your weapon. Why wouldn't I just do that every round? Let's see, does the bulwark make sense? I think it does. Yeah, I'm not so sure about this bash. Does this mean that I make an attack roll, and if that succeeds, so when you attack, obviously you make an attack roll, and this will deal d6 damage on success. Does bash mean that I make a second attack roll, and if I succeed, it deals an additional d4 damage? So it's just see, so I make the attack check. On a success, I deal d6 damage. And I can then bash the... I can do an attack check for bash. And on success, I deal an extra d4 damage. But if I fail the initial attack check, I don't deal any damage at all. Maybe that's what it means. But I'm not sure, so I'm actually leaning towards passing on the Wraith Spawn then, because I'm not sure what it means. Let's look at the Weapon Master. So the Weapon Master Tier 1 Evasive Strike, you strike at your opponent while at the same time sidestepping their attack. If you score a hit, your next defensive check receives a plus 10. This kind of has the same problem, I guess, in that it just sounds like a free benefit for every attack. Let's go to the beginning of the Masteries chapter and see whether I am missing anything. So, let's see. Abilities usually require either spending ether or making an attack roll with your weapon. That's it. So, Bulwark, this makes sense. So, for the brace, this is a reaction. So, we do this when an attack is coming in. We spend 2 ether and we do the thing. Tier 2, Shield Bash. This is kind of instead of our attack. We do this thing. Tier 3, Sword and Board. Again, this is instead of our attack. Our normal attack. And then Tier 4 and 5 are just passive abilities. For the Weapon Master, yeah, I guess as a Weapon Master, we could do like 2 things. Well, there's more things, but there's kind of 2 things we could do to deal damage. You could make an attack roll, which takes 1 action. We roll the check, and deal damage, or we can do an evasive strike instead, which is just a strictly better version of an attack. So it is just kind of a better version of a regular attack. So if we look at the Wraith Spawn, then yeah, I think it is just a strict upgrade over a regular attack. Because regular attacks only cost 1 standard action, right? Let's just double check that. Yeah, a standard attack is a standard action. So Bash is just a strict upgrade of a regular attack. Okay, I guess I'm thinking either Wraithspawn or Weapon Master. I think I prefer the Weapon Master in general. I like the passive ability more. So the Wraithspawn passive ability is once per rest, you can spend ether to enhance the damage of any of your attacks at a rate of 1 ether for +1 damage. So I could just decide I'm going to spend 10 points of ether to get a +10 damage to something, which could be useful if I'm like facing an Overseer or something. But a Weapon Master, we just get a passive plus d4 damage all the time, but it's only for a specific weapon. And we also get a +10 to our weapon skill for that weapon. So we need to pick a weapon for the Weapon Master. Okay, let's note down the Bulwark because we're going for that one definitely. Yeah, let's go for the Weapon Master. We'll look through a list of weapons in a moment. So our passive is no penalties from wearing armor. In fact, I'm just gonna copy the whole page into Miro because let's maybe shrink that a little bit. So yeah, let's just put our passives kind of up here, and our unlocked abilities next to it. Okay, and then we'll go for a weapon master, which is page 52. And we need to, well, let's copy stuff over first, and then we'll look at the weapon list, and maybe we'll look at the starter dungeon, because I'm not sure if that will give us a weapon. Kind of align these over here. Okay. Right, so we'll just copy them. No, let's just copy them all in. Let's move things out the way. So this is our bulwark stuff, and let's just cross out the ones we don't have yet. Then we got our weapon master stuff. Oh, annoyingly, um, this is split over. Come on. Let's group these two things together. Okay, and these are our weapon master things. Oh, again, cross out the ones we don't have yet. Okay, we need to choose a weapon. Let's go look at the starter dungeon. Let's see. Okay, so we'll get a dagger, a club, and a what is a pilum? A pilum is a 2-meter long heavy javelin used by Roman legionaries. Okay. So we'll get a dagger, a club, and a javelin. I kind of want a sword. I feel a sword is a cooler weapon than those. Do we maybe find a sword elsewhere? No. Okay, so if we're starting the game without going through the starter dungeon, we actually get to choose our weapon. Skim through this, see if there's anything about choosing weapons. No. I think I will probably swap out Like one of these, maybe like two. Maybe I'll change these weapons. Maybe I'll like keep the club as a bludgeoning weapon and swap out the dagger and the pylon for a sword. I don't know. Let's look at the weapons list. Obviously, I don't want to start with like a super powerful weapon or something. So a dagger deals piercing damage and it is quick. Quick means it grants a +10 to initiative checks. That's pretty cool. A long sword deals slashing damage. I don't actually know what the difference with piercing damage is, but it is parrying and versatile. So parrying +10 to combat skill used defensively, and versatile can be wielded with two hands, dealing +1 damage. Oh, we also have this speed thing, which I don't really know what speed means. Okay, speed. Yeah, they have different speed. Okay, dagger has 10 speed. I guess higher speed is probably better. Yeah, probably because like a great axe is like a big slow weapon that has a -10 on speed. So high speed is probably better. I suppose we could start with like a saber or a scimitar. They seem equivalent even though they cost different amounts. So what I'm thinking is if I'm choosing Weapon Master as one of my masteries, I don't want to like pick a cool weapon that I'm not actually going to find for like 3 dungeons, because then that's just weakening myself for no reason. So yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll keep the club, but I'll swap out the dagger and the pylon for a maybe a again, there probably isn't like a bad choice really. Uh, let's go for a longsword. It's a classic weapon. So yes, in the starter dungeon, I will have a longsword, a club, and random armor. And the longsword is going to be my chosen weapon here. So let's longsword. Let's make that a nice magenta. Does that mean for longswords we have a +10 to our weapon skill and a +d4 damage? Okay, right. I think we've picked masteries. We need to roll to see where we learned these things. That's very important, of course. All right, so we're not a brawler. We're a bulwark. That also begins with the B, but it's not the same thing. Where did we learn this? Where did we train? 6. The Order of the Bronze Shields, founded centuries ago by Thelia the Wall, this knightly order is renowned for its unwavering dedication to protecting the realm. Housed within a grand fortress, the Order of the Bronze Shields specializes in teaching defensive strategies and techniques tailored specifically for heavy armor users. Trainees undergo rigorous physical training, engage in mock battles, and learn to coordinate with fellow knights for effective defensive formations. So, interesting that I was evidently a member of a knightly order, and I fell to being a pirate. Oops, I guess so I'm... I guess I'm a disgraced former member of the Order of the Bronze Shields. Interesting. This probably won't mean anything, but it's, good to flesh things out. Let's look at the Weapon Master now. The Isle of the Enlightened Blades, a secluded island shrouded in mystery. The Isle of the Enlightened Blades is home to Oko, the legendary master of melee combat. Students from far and wide seek the guidance of this revered master, who imparts timeless wisdom and trains them in the way of the sword, axe, spear, or any other weapon of their choosing. The serene environment and rigorous training allows individuals to delve deep into the essence of melee combat. Okay, so not only am I a next member of Knightly Order, I was trained by the legendary Oko. Though Oko was on an island piracy, maybe that's a connection. Anyway, it sounds like my character was once an upstanding member of society and has fallen upon hard times. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, character progression. So every time we roll doubles, whether it's a success or not, we can mark one of the relevant box on the sheet to improve it. And we actually get to improve when we are in camp. Okay. Leveling up requires 1,000 XP. We get XP for various things. I guess our XP resets once we level up. Let's just copy over these XP triggers. Let's put it up. Let's shrink that a little. Let's put these XP triggers up here because we'll be referring to this a lot, I feel. Open a locked door or container, regardless of the method. Successfully dismantle a trap. Enter a new domain. Defeat a combat encounter. Defeat an overseer. So, yeah, defeating an overseer is worth defeating 4 other monsters. Right, so this can... So we choose one of these things. We can increase our health. Again, health is... We have like 2 tiers of health. We have health, which only recovers in special circumstances, and toughness, which recovers very quickly. And damage first comes off toughness, so we can increase our health. We can increase our toughness. Toughness feels better than health unless we're facing a lot of threats that directly damage our health. We increase our sanity. Increase our ether. We're not playing like a spellcaster, so maybe we don't really need much ether. Like, got this brace ability that uses ether. None of our other bulwark abilities use ether. For our weapon master, 1,000. Okay, so a few of our weapon master skills do use ether, so that might be worthwhile. We can increase our exhaustion resistance. Increase all physical damage by plus D4. That's pretty cool. Increase the skill by 5. Increase magic resistance by 10. Ooh, I like that. Also earn 1 ability point, which you can spend on a mastery. Okay. We get perks. Yes, so we have a space for perks here. So perks are gained by completing personal goals. So we'll have to do that at some point. Oh, this is a really cool picture. I like this. The rules. Yeah. I've read all this before. I think it's kind of fine. Oh, yes. So the system does use the usage die, which is a mechanic I don't really like generally, but I feel it's kind of okay here. So a usage die... Sorry, I had to sneeze. If you're not familiar with it, it's kind of a chain of dice. So we'll look at the tension die here. So it'll start at probably a D10, I guess, or maybe a D8 because this D10 is in brackets. Let's say it starts at a D10. So we have our D10, and every time, like every step, I believe this is every time we go into a new room, we roll the die. Here we've got a 7. If we roll a 1 or a 2, so let's say we roll a 2 on our D10, it downgrades to the next die size, so a D8 in this case. And if we roll a 1 on our D8, it downgrades to a D6. If we roll a 1 there, it downgrades to a D4. And if we roll a 1 or a 2 here, it's a 1 or a 2 on all the dice. If we roll a 1 or a 2 on the D4, the bad thing happens and the die resets. And these were introduced or at least popularized in a system called the Black Hack, where it uses them for basically everything you need to track. So like arrows or rations or whatever. You use the tension die. Like if you use arrows in combat, you have a bow and you fire arrows, you'd use the tension die rather than tracking how many arrows you have exactly. But I don't like the tension die, not tension die, sorry, usage die for tracking concrete resources because you can just count them, right? I know that statistically, if you have like a d20 of arrows or whatever, you will have like a certain you'll tend to have a certain number of arrows, but I don't like that you can be unlucky and like run out of something faster than you expect, because if it's a concrete resource like arrows in your quiver or rations in your backpack, you should be able to count those and know for certain that you have enough. But I think the usage die is okay for like abstract resources. So here, the tension die is essentially a random encounter generator. When it runs out, something bad happens in the dungeon. That makes sense because it's an abstract thing that's happening. We also use a usage die for the lair of the Overseer. When this runs out, we have found the lair of the Overseer, and then we reset the die and we start rolling again to determine when we find the exit of the domain, so the path to the next domain. Again, that's good because it's an abstract thing, right? Like we're searching through a dungeon, eventually we'll find the boss, we don't know when, eventually we'll find the exit, we don't know when. So the usage die makes sense for that. Let's see. What do we got here? What was I looking for? I was looking for some. Oh yes, I'm looking for what to do next in character creation. We might just have to skip ahead to the like starting section. I want to just skim through to make sure that I've not missed anything. So this game does have hit locations. It's fairly crunchy, I guess. Um, Armor uses a usage die to track its durability. Again, that's kind of fine because it's we're not tracking exactly like HP for armor or whatever, so that's kind of okay. I would still feel. I suppose in this case the usage die for the armor is fine because like if a piece of armor breaks quickly, that makes sense. We probably picked it up off a corpse, so it wasn't in good condition to begin with. Yeah, I feel this we probably just need to jump ahead to. Oh, this is another really cool picture. What is this guy in the wall here? Like some sort of giant corpse in the wall, maybe? Anyway, I think, yeah, we do just jump ahead to stepping into darkness. So, I'm going to step away for a moment to refill my drink, and then we will get to it. We will enter the first domain of Ker Nethalas. So, I'll be back in a moment. Alright, I am back. Let's get to it. So, when you first awaken among the rotting corpses, confused and in some pain, you have nothing but some rags on and the knowledge you accumulated all those years spent on the surface. Ker Nethalas is an unforgiving place, and you need to find your footing quickly if you want to survive. Due to your character starting in dire circumstances, they suffer a series of starting disadvantages. So D6 direct damage, and here we come to my immediate first rules question. Direct damage, is that to toughness or health? So let's find the damage section. Damage is in the healing section, maybe? I mean, I assume it's probably to toughness. Because it doesn't say health damage. Yeah, I assume it's to toughness. So direct damage is just damage to toughness from a d6 without, rolling, without consulting the damage table. In fact, I'm going to copy the damage table over here because we're going to refer to this table a lot. So let's just put it up here so we're not like flipping to it every single attack roll in the game. I think replacing this table with just rolling for damage is a smart move. I'm sure this will become fairly tedious as we play. Anyway, d6 direct damage, 2 damage. Barely anything. How do we recover damage? Actually, let's quickly look at healing. So, okay, right. So we start with 2 damage. Let's just quickly check. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't mention health. So it's just damage that you don't roll on the table for. So it is just toughness damage. So we're going to get 2 damage to our toughness, and we can heal this. So we'll recover some after a fight. We'll recover d4 after a fight. So we won't actually fully heal after a fight if we're lucky enough to do that without taking any damage in it. We can also use we don't have any bandages, I suppose, to start with. Yeah. Okay. So 2 damage to toughness. Also, we have personal goals. Okay, let's just work through this stuff here, and then we'll have a look for personal goals. Where do we set those? Because obviously I've missed that being mentioned. D4 sanity loss. Here we go. I'm using my black dice for stuff that Ker Nethalas is doing to me, and I'll use my white dice for stuff that I'm doing to Ker Nethalas. I think I saw a tip from the game designer, because a lot of the combat rolls are opposed rolls. So, having different colored dice lets you roll all at once. Anyway, 4 sanity damage. That's not so great. Then 1 exhaustion. Let's copy the exhaustion table over into here as well. Building up a little cheat sheet of tables. Everything's so big when I paste it. But yes, so no penalty from our exhaustion yet. And that was that. So firstly, let's just have a look for personal goals and make sure we've not missed anything. Okay, personal goals. Only 2 personal goals can be chosen at a time. They can't be changed once you've got it. Typically take a long time. Okay, is there like a specific time which you choose them, or should I do that now? I guess I just do it now. Yeah. Okay. Let's pick some personal goals. So it strongly recommends the Overseer Overthrown goal as our first one, because this grants us access to a third mastery. So that sounds pretty good. Let's see. Overseer Overthrown. Defeat an Overseer. Reward is an amulet, and amulets give you a third mastery. So, Overseer Overthrown. Defeat an Overseer. And we could pick a second one. Or I guess we could potentially leave it, since we don't really know what we're getting into. But let's read through them and have a look. So, could go for... So, Bladed Weapon Master would kind of fit with what we're doing. So, I mean, we're going to be fighting with a sword a lot, because not only is Bladed Weapons our best combat skill, we've got Longsword as our Weapon Master thing. So, if we go for Bladed Weapon Master, that means defeat 50 opponents with the Bladed Weapon skill. So, it's going to take a while. And the reward is +1 damage while wielding a bladed weapon. So that means with a longsword, we'd be dealing d6 plus d4 plus 1. Which, the way that would work with the damage table is we would roll d6 plus 1 and consult the table, and a d4 plus 1 and consult the table a second time. So that's pretty good. Oh, decapitate the leadership. Defeat 20 overseers. Jeez. I feel you can't. I feel you're probably not working towards a goal unless you pick it. So probably you'd be pretty far into the game before you decide to pick decapitate the leadership, and then you'd have to defeat 20 overseers from that point. So all the overseers you defeated up to that time would not count towards your decapitate the leadership goal. Relic Hunter. Find a relic. 100 XP. I don't know what relics are, how rare they are. Let's just have a quick look for relics. What is a relic? Okay, it's a potential thing we could find. It's a precious item. So, yes, we have a 1 in 6 chance of being able to roll on the precious item table, and then 5 out of 20 precious items will be relics. So, pretty unlikely to find one. Is there another means of encountering one? They sell for substantially more than even the best tier of magic items. Relics are powerful, unique magic items that grant you access to one-of-a-kind powers, abilities, and advantages. Finding one of these items can change how you play the game and really change the course of your character's fate. Okay, so a relic sounds like a big deal. I think Relic Hunter is probably not a good secondary goal. Okay, I'm thinking either Slashing Damage Expert, deal 200 slashing damage and we gain 1 slashing damage reduction, or Bladed Weapon Master. Defeat 50 opponents with the Bladed Weapon skill and +1 damage while wielding a Bladed Weapon. I think I'm going to go for Bladed Weapon Master. Just going to note down 50 opponents. I'll decrement this count as I go. So that's it for our personal goals. Defeat an Overseer and defeat 50 opponents with Bladed Weapons. Alright, so we've taken our direct damage. That was 2 points of damage. To our toughness, we've taken 4 points of sanity damage and we've gained 1 exhaustion. And it recommends we use the starting domain. So, we have a pre-generated map. Some details are fixed, but you'll still need to generate the contents and possible encounters of each room using the procedures from Chapter 4, which are covered in this flowcharts. So let's just get Chapter 4 open, because we'll be consulting this a lot. This is the Exploring Ker Nethalas. chapter. And we'll be consulting these rules a lot in this first domain as we learn how to play, but then it should go faster for subsequent domains. Right, so map is generated, as I said. This starting level does not use the standard combat encounters table. So we have a slightly simpler set of combat encounters. There's no need to keep track of the domain exit because it is shown on the map. Okay, I believe it's this 7 here. All the doors are marked, so we don't need to check to see if things are locked. Only when there is a door drawn. We strongly recommend that you explore every single nook and cranny of this domain before deciding to face the Overseer. All right. I guess let's yeah, let's copy the map over. So put the map up here. So we can like mark rooms as we go through them, or I don't know. Let's put a blob on rooms we've not interacted with yet. It's like every corridor we need to roll the. Pretty sure it's every corridor as well we need to roll the tension die for. Let's have a look. Tension die on page 106. So I have a bunch of descriptions of rooms and things. Random events. Tension die. Okay. It starts at a D8. Okay. I wonder why it says D10 here. Maybe there's like a mastery or something that lets us start at D10. The following circumstance will trigger a tension die check, moving from one room or corridor to the next one. So yes, moving into a corridor will do it. Making noise or specific circumstances triggered by the creature or whatnot. Okay, right. Right, Ker Nethalas. Let's begin. So, actually, I think I'm going to draw the map as I go. Then it'll be very apparent whether I have, you know, like gone somewhere and done something. So let's get my drawing tool ready to go. Okay, right. So, first room, the corpse pile. Let's see, this is, I'm assuming these are, I guess we don't get I'm assuming these are 5-foot squares. So, 20 feet east to west. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, we have squares here. With, let's see, it's 30 feet north to south. We have an exit on, let's, do I want to use the line tool? Is this a game that will work well with like solid lines, or is it going to be a real pain? Anyway, so we have an exit here, and then we also have an exit kind of like middle. Offset by 1 in the north. I think this is correct. Like, having to mentally rotate it because... I mean, I suppose I could keep it a little bit simple and have this room at the top. I don't know. I think this is correct. Yeah. Anyway, we need to let's have a quick look because it doesn't mention anything special about the overseer here. So I guess we need to determine the overseer as normal. So, if this is the first room or corridor of a new domain, the first thing we must do is determine the overseer. This is done by rolling, and which modifier applies to all creatures in the domain. Okay. Right, it's page 165. Let's go to that. And we shall roll a d10 for the overseer. And God, picking up d4s is such a pain. Okay, overseer. 8. The Infernal Archon. That sounds tough. I mean, they all sound tough. Let's have a look. At least he's not the Infernal Tormentor. That guy looks pretty mean. They have cool names. So we have the Infernal Tormentor, the Zephyrus Shadow, the Carnage Devourer, Venom Cloud Siren, Glacial Burrower, Gore Hoof, Veil Shifter, and the Infernal Archon. This is ours. Okay. What does the Infernal Archon do? He can summon a minion. He can summon a demon. The Infernal Archon's presence ignites the air, unleashing waves of scorching heat that sear the senses and smother hope. With sweeping gestures, it summons forth demonic cohorts and hurls infernal projectiles that immolate everything in their path. Its mastery of the chaotic elements allows it to weave a torrent of fire and shadow into an inescapable vortex of annihilation. Challenging the Infernal Archon is almost equal to confronting an inferno given life, where courage and resilience are tested against a relentless onslaught of flames and shadow that seek to engulf all in a tempest of destruction. Okay, sounds pretty tough. So he's a demon. He only has 10 health. That's not so bad. Maybe. I don't know. Right, okay, we have an Infernal Archon, and what is the influence of the Infernal Archon? 1. Tough. Enemies in this domain are immune to critical hits. Which, I assume that means a critical hit just becomes like a regular success, rather than just ignoring it entirely. Okay, we have determined an overseer. We should mark what our dice are. So our tension die is a d8, and our domain die is a d12. We just grab some of those and put them aside. Here is a d8. No, this is a d12, and here is a d8. Okay, perfect. Right, so each time you enter a new room, I guess, I guess we don't need to roll to see, like make an encounter or lair check or whatever for the corpse pile room. 1. Corpse pile room. This is where you opened your eyes for the first time after your supposed execution. This is where the nightmare begins. There is nothing of value here, just rotted flesh and vermin. You do find a half-spent torch that will last you another 10 rooms. So do we have 20 boxes here for torches? I'm already seeing a problem with having my torch counter so far away from my dungeon map. Anyway, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Yes, so we have 20 boxes normally. 10 are spent. So let's mark 10 boxes off. And we have a torch in our hand. Where's our inventory? Okay, let's say our torch is in the offhand. That is literally all we have at the moment. All right, where can we go from here? So we have two exits, and one of them leads to like. I mean, I guess we wouldn't know. I don't know. I'm gonna go forward. Let's go. Yeah, forward. So this opens up into a slightly awkwardly shaped room. So we've got like this kind of thing going on here. We got some stairs. On this side, it comes out 2 squares, and it's up 1. Then we have another exit. Oops. And this is stairway going down as well. Okay, then we have a corridor heading out to the north. And over here, see, what is this? We have another corridor heading out over here. And this kind of comes around like this, so slightly weirdly shaped room. I think that's correct. Okay, so we need to roll for encounters and stuff. So we move into this room. That means we spend 1 point of torch. Right, so every time we place a new room, we have to make a lair check to determine where the overseer is. The lair check starts at a d12. 8. So this does not downgrade. We have not found the overseer yet. Actually, let's see. Does our starter dungeon, do we have like an overseer domain? We do. Okay, so the overseer domain is here, so we don't actually need to roll for this. So I guess, yeah, we don't need that, but we do want our tension die. I think, right, let's see. So you enter a new room, you make a lair check. We don't really need to do that right now. Once you determine whether this is a regular room or corridor, or the main exit, make a tension die check. So that's a d8. 5, the tension die doesn't go down. Now we see if there is a combat encounter. Roll a d20, and on a 10 plus, we have an encounter. 14, we have an encounter. I'm just wondering, should I... Let's look at the map. No, I don't think this little square here is a corridor. I think the corridors are... They're more obviously corridors. Okay, so we have a combat encounter. It is not the Overseer's Lair. So... And last but not least, if you enter a room but there was no combat encounter, you just roll on the event table. Is this all? This must all be covered here, right? Yeah. So we're in a room. Tension check, lair X check, -1 light source. Encounter check. We have an encounter, yes. So we should resolve the encounter, and then we can potentially scavenge the room. So let's see, combat encounters. Is it described here? So we have two tables, table A and table B. So there must be some procedure to determine which table we roll upon. It was probably in here, and I just missed it. So we determine if there is a combat encounter. I remember reading this in the physical book, how we determine like which table to roll upon for the combat encounter. But I am blanking on it here. What am I missing here? It's about stat blocks, things. So we're potentially going to get some XP here. Is it kind of cheating to say we get 50 XP because we entered the starting domain? I don't know if that really counts. Okay, so we just roll on the combat encounters table. Oh. I see what I'd missed. I just saw table A and table B, but there's actually a mini table here which determines which table we roll upon first. Okay, that's the procedure. So we have a combat encounter. We then roll on the general table to determine which sub-table we roll upon, and that will tell us what we actually encounter. Right. But we have a custom combat encounter table here. But let's read the description of this room first. Oh my god, I went through all of this and it says there's no combat encounter in this room. Anyway, guard room, that's where we've ended up, I'm pretty certain, because we went straight forward. This is room 2. Yep. Okay, I should read the room descriptions. Guard room. This room appears to be some ancient guard room, a tattered banner still hanging from one of the walls. Several armor and weapon racks lie collapsed and rotten near the walls, but among the many rusty pieces of weaponry, you find something you can use. I previously said I'm going to change this out to a longsword and a club, and then one piece of armor. So I'm getting rid of the dagger and the pilum so that I can use my weapon mastery. There is no combat encounter or event in this room. Okay, so the way to explore this starter dungeon is I go somewhere, I then read the room description, and then unless it says otherwise, I should roll. But I shouldn't roll before reading the room description. Okay, right. All right. I have a longsword and a club and a random piece of armor. Let's do that. So a longsword. I think I have. Let me quickly look at the encumbrance. Encumbrance. It was in the skills and stuff. Yeah, okay. Okay, right, yeah. So we have these 10 gear slots that we can put other stuff in. So my club will go in here. We do not start with a belt or a backpack. We have to find these. So we have a longsword, a club, and roll once on the random armor tables. Okay, armor. So 2 sorts of armor. There's full suits of armor. There's a complete sets from shoulders to feet. They offer a unified rate of protection across all your body parts because this is a game that has hit locations. We have piecemeal armor that lets us protect certain parts of our body, which is useful because armor slows you down. But because we are a bulwark, we are not slowed down or whatever from wearing armor. So I guess like full suits of armor or whatever are probably best for us. Anyway, we want a random piece of armor. Which table do we roll on for that? So just random armor tables. That's probably like in the scavenging section, right? Let's have a quick look. Where are we scavenging? Okay, we have a spoils table. Loot and spoils. I'm looking for... So, I want to roll for a random piece of armor, as it says, but there are several tables for armor, and they don't have numbers on, so I feel like that's not the roll table. Random armor. There must be a random armor table. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Random armor. Okay. D20. That's a 19. A shield. Oh no, that sucks. That sucks because both my hands are occupied. I've got a sword in one hand and a torch in the other. So with a shield, it's just packed away in my bag because I can't use it. That's unfortunate. Okay. We have got an 8. A target shield, which is a shields. Target provides a +5 bonus to parry and has D6 integrity. It's a small shield, I guess. But it's going in our backpack because we don't have a third hand, sadly. Target shield. I should note down the properties of this longsword. Weapons. Longsword is parrying and versatile. Okay. Let's move on. I'm gonna go east. Which is so room 3. How long is this staircase? It's really hard to tell on an isometric map. It's probably like 2 squares. I mean, it's as long as this staircase. I know, yeah, let's say 2. We're opening up into the south part of the room. Just put some dots for stairs here. Okay, what other exits do we have from here? So this room is 1, 2, so we've got 3 squares and another exit. And it's a stairway leading up. I guess it's got to be too long to two squares long to fit here. I suppose. Is this a corridor that we're going into between rooms 2 and 3? It must be. So we have to roll the tension die for this. But it doesn't really look like a corridor from 3 into this unmarked room that's next to it. It looks shorter somehow. Hang on. How does this dungeon make sense? Like, how do we go down from room 2 into room 3, but then down from room 3 into this other room that is connected on a horizontal plane to room 2. And how do we have 2 corridors in room 2 going up to the same room over here that one goes up and one does not? This corridor from this apparently flat corridor from 2 must like slope up rather than use stairs, maybe? But then room 3 really doesn't work. I don't understand the layout of this dungeon. This doesn't fit on a plane. Anyway, whatever. It is what it is. Let's make sense of it as best I can. Anyway. We have another exit with a door. Got our first closed door here. Actually, are those... Yeah, okay, so we actually have a door here as well. And here. Those aren't super apparent. I think those are doors on that stairway. We have a door here as well. Okay. Let's just quickly get some shapes. So let's have a little like rectangle for a door. Like this will do. Copy a bunch of these. Get rid of some excess dots, I suppose. Put that there. Any other doors that I've missed? No. Okay, so we actually need to check, is this door locked or not before we go through it. Well, okay, we've already gone through it because we've already drawn. No. Let's check if it's locked. And yeah, okay. Right. How do we check if a door is locked? Is this on the flowchart? Check if door is locked. 12 plus on D12. It is locked. This one is locked. Let's just erase this part of our map, I guess. Whatever. We can draw that in later. Okay, right, so that is locked. How do I unlock a door? I don't have any lockpicks, if that is a relevant thing. Doors. Here we go. We can determine the lock's difficulty, which we do so randomly, and then this is going to affect our thievery chance. This also requires a lockpick. Okay, we don't have a lockpick, so... And our thievery is only... 30's not bad, I suppose. If it is locked and you cannot pick the lock, you can always break it down. You must pass an athletics check. Okay, so swapping acrobatics and athletics was the right move there. Okay, let's come back to this later. Maybe we'll try breaking this door down, but we might find some lockpicks somewhere. So, okay. So we're not moving into room 3 there. I guess let's go west here. So in this strange non-Euclidean dungeon, it looks like we're going like down, and then we've got this like 30-foot, not 30-foot, 15-foot square room with exits in the middle of the north and south sides. This isn't a numbered room, so it won't have anything special, so we should roll for combat encounters and whatnot in here. So I'll do that in a moment. I've drawn it out. And there are no doors. They're just corridors. Corridors heading out there. Okay, right. First we roll our tension die, which is a D8. 3. The tension die does not go down. We then roll for combat encounter. Our light goes down by 1. I think actually I decreased our light by 1 when I moved into... Let's have a look. Yes, we moved from room 1 into room 2, which used at 1 point, so we're now moving from room 2 into this unmarked one, so that's another point of light. And now we roll for an encounter. It's the 10 plus on the D20. 17. I'm pretty sure that's what I rolled last time as well. So yes, there is a combat encounter. So we're going to roll on this special table here. A 5. Blightfang rats. Okay. Let's find Blightfang rats in the combat encounters and figure out how combat works in the system. Blightfang rats. These abominable rodents are grotesque amalgamations of rotting flesh and shadows, their sinewy bodies covered in mangy, mottled fur. Possessing malevolent crimson eyes that pierce the very soul, Blightfang rats can really spread havoc quickly if left unchecked. Whispers speak of these nightmarish creatures amassing beneath Veldonia, ready to unleash an apocalyptic wave of suffering upon the world. So there are 3 of them. They have 3 health. Okay. We are literally in a basement fighting giant rats. This is the quintessential RPG experience. Let's just track their health. And let's turn to combat. Let's see if they have anything cool. They have pack traits, which I believe means they're going to get a bonus from other things nearby. Yes, they receive a +5 combat skill for every other pack creature still alive in the room. They have pretty basic combat skill. So yeah, okay. These don't seem a major threat. Appropriate for like tutorial dungeon. Right, so combat is relatively abstracted. Alright, we don't track position. Simply assumes we're just all moving around the room, leveraging our advantages. So we don't have range or cover. It's opposed rolls. Alright, initiative. So we're facing an opponent. This is a perception versus the target's awareness. Whoever wins gets to act first. Right, so there's 3 of them. I guess I just make 1 awareness roll for them rather than 3 awareness rolls, because that would be kind of crazy. So let's find my D100s. All right. If either side rolls a crit failure, the opponent attacks. If they had surprised them, so they get an extra special bonus. And we're not trying to be sneaky, so stealth doesn't apply here. Okay, right. So I got a, what is this, a 62? I'm pretty sure that's not a success on my perception. My perception is a 50. And I don't think, yes, none of my abilities affects this. Okay. They rolled a 16, which is definitely a success. 16 is equal to or under 60. So they're going to go first. I believe they get a bonus because they're acting first. Let's see. Or maybe that's only for stealth. Yes, if it was stealth, if you win the check, you make your first attack with a plus 20. So that is not the case. So the enemy, I believe we roll a d6 to decide what they're going to do, and they're all going to do something, and then it will be my turn, and then I will do something. So let's decide what our rats are going to do. So one rat is going to bite, and then the other two are going to scratch. Okay, we'll start with the bite, I suppose. So, let's see. Right, so the attacking character, so it's an opposed roll. The attacking character rolls a d100. They get a plus 10 to their skill because they are taking the lead. The defender either rolls dodge or a combat skill. And I think it's going to be my combat skill because my dodge is worse. And I get a plus 10 to my weapon skill because I'm wielding a longsword. So I am rolling a 70 and they are rolling a 40 because of the pack tactics. And then let's see about reactions. So there's 3 of them. Do I get like a penalty, perhaps, after the first one? Yes, consecutive defensive rolls have a minus 20 penalty. Is that like a minus 20 each time, or is it just a minus 20 overall? It's probably just a minus 20 overall. I want to be sure about that, though. It says, as I mentioned, this is as usual for reactions. So where are reactions described? Just search the PDF for reaction and see what we get. Okay, it is cumulative. So there are 3 rats, so my first one I'll defend against with a straight roll, the next one will be with a minus 20, and the next one will be with a minus 40. So that's pretty tough. But they're giant rats, they don't seem super strong. Okay, right, so we have one rat biting me. I'm going to try to fend it off with my sword, so it's an opposed roll. It has failed its roll. I also failed my roll. I assume that just means nothing happens. Actually, did it fail its roll? It got a 52. Its normal skill is a 30, which goes up to 40 with... Yes, okay. So it was rolling against 50. But 52 is not under 50. Okay, so both sides failed, so nothing happens there. So now we'll go for one of the second rat, which is scratching, so I've got a minus 20 penalty. The rat hit and I missed, so the rat scratches me, dealing d4 plus 1 slashing damage. My armor is useless in this situation because it's a shield, and I don't have a spare hand to hold it. So I'm just going to take damage. That is a 2, so we consult the damage table. 2 to 4 is 1 point of damage. I'm sure this will feel much faster once get used to it. Now the third rat's attacks. Okay, I got a 46, which is a So no, it got a 46, which is a hit. I got a 10, which is a success. So I'm on minus 40. So I'm on a 20 on my bladed weapon skill, plus 10 because of my thingy. So I'm rolling against a 30. So I succeeded. It also succeeded. I believe it's the highest roll wins because there were no crits there. So it wins that one as well. Yes, the one that rolls highest while rolling under their ability. Oh, I should have rolled to see where the rat hit me. I feel like that doesn't matter because I'm not wearing armor. Oh, as a human, your weak spot is located in your head. Okay, so if it hits me in the head, it deals additional damage. So let's roll for the hit location for the previous attack. That's a 13 on the humanoid table. That is a left arm. Okay, that's fine. And the second one is on the 3, which is the right leg. Okay. It's going to deal d4 plus 1 damage to my right leg. 2, that's a 3, which is 1 point of damage. Alright, now it's my turn. So I'm rolling against an 80 with my bladed weapons, because I have 60 in the skill. I get a plus 10 because I'm attacking, and I get a plus 10 from my mastery ability. So I succeeded. I should have said, I suppose I'm attacking the first rat. They're all interchangeable. I succeeded. It succeeded with a crit, though, so it wins that exchange. So it gets to roll on the defensive table, defensive actions table, I believe. Let's have a look. Yes, a critical strike automatically wins the confrontation. So rat number 1 gets to make a defensive move. It's not going very well so far, this first fight. 5. Your opponent immediately suffers d4 damage that ignores armor. Okay, so I lash out at this rat with my sword, but it masterfully parries my blow and bites me for 4 points of damage. That's only a 1 on the damage dealt table. Maybe I'm a little shaken, having been chucked in a corpse pit. And these cat-sized rats are a concern. Okay, now it is the rat's turn again, so we're going to go for the 3 rats. Rat miss, I hit. So I get to make a defensive move. 7. I gain advantage on my next attack. Okay. Let's put that there. A for advantage. Rat number 2. I should have specified what attack it was doing, but it missed. It crit missed, in fact. Does that have any special power? What happens? A crit fail loses the confrontation. Okay, so it just misses, but again, I succeeded on my roll, so I get to make another defensive action. My next attack receives an additional plus 10. Okay. I guess combat maybe does kind of go a little bit faster once these, like, if these defensive actions start to build up. And now for rat 3. That it hits. I failed to defend. I should also roll for what it's actually doing. 1. It is biting me for d6 piercing damage. Okay. It's biting me for 6 piercing damage. Okay. Which is 2 on this. It'd be very embarrassing to get killed by a giant rat in the starter dungeon. I hope that doesn't happen. Anyway, it's my turn now, and I'm rolling with advantage and with a plus 10. So I'm rolling against 90. I have a 90% chance, plus I have an advantage. Surely I'm going to hit a rat this time. Yes, I do hit a rat. I need to roll for a hit location. If I hit it in the head, that will deal additional damage. Hit locations. What sort of creature is it? It is a quadruped. 4. I hit the left hind leg of this rat. Okay, sadly not its weak spot. But I'm dealing D6 plus D4 damage. Surely is enough to take out a rat. They only have 3 hit points. Okay, so that is a 2 and a 3 on the table. That's 2 points of damage. I'm going to move my rat health over here. So no, I did not manage to kill a rat. Let's look at the other combat actions beyond just trading blows. What other things can we do? So I can use standard actions. Oh, I forgot I have this brace ability. I can spend ether to do this thing. Okay, I can defend especially good. Oh, I also forgot I had this evasive strike ability, which gives a bonus to my next defensive check. Okay, let's remember I have these abilities. So I can perform a standard attack. I can use one of my abilities. I can flee. Okay. Or do other things. All right. Well, let's go back to the rat's turn. I'm sure I'll use this brace ability just to see how it works. Why not? So the rat lunges towards me, and I use my brace ability, which will, should it hit me, I have to declare before the rolls. Should it hit me, this will reduce the damage dealt. 58. That's not even a hit. Yeah, okay. The rat misses me, but I get to make a defensive roll, so that's all right. A 1, my next attack receives an additional +10. I kind of wasted 2 points of ether there. Rat number 2 hits me, and I didn't declare I was doing the thing. It's doing attack number 3, which is a scratch, d4 plus 1 scratchy damage. That's a 4, that's 1 point of damage. Okay, and rat 3, I suppose the -40 penalty is pretty tough, so I will use my defensive thing again. It missed, I missed. Nobody hit anybody. Okay, so I found I can reliably make the enemies miss by spending the resources to defend. That's always how it goes. Right, my turn. I am going to attack the weakened rat. Since I didn't manage to take it out in my first. No. I'm going to attack a fresh rat. Surely I can take a rat out in a single blow. I got a critical hit, which doesn't do anything special. Yeah. There's also this weapon speed thing, which I've been forgetting about, but I think the sword, let's find it. I'm pretty sure the long sword has no speed, so it doesn't actually impact things. Weapons. Longsword, 0 speed. Oh, the longsword is parrying. It gives a +10 to my defense rolls. Okay, let's remember that going forwards. Okay, anyway, I hit the rats. I deal d6 plus d4 damage. That's a 3, which is a 1 on the table, and a 4, which is another 1 on the table. So another rat has been dealt 2 points of damage. So that's a second rat that is wounded but not dead yet. I'm so pathetic I can't even kill a rat with a sword. But we're getting there. Next round it is the rats. I forgot to declare that I was using my defensive thing as well. There's no downside to doing an evasive strike, so I should try to remember this for next time. Anyway. Okay. Rat 1 is attacking me. I'm not going to use my defense. I'm going to save it for when I've got the -40 penalty. The rat misses, but I get to make a defensive move. I got a 3, which is the rat begins bleeding. Okay. Description of I believe that's just damage every round. Let's see, conditions. Bleeding. A bleeding character receives an amount of damage. Yeah. Alright, so we treat this as if it were on the damage table. So bleeding 1 doesn't actually deal any damage. But if it goes up to like bleeding 2 or more, then it will deal damage. So sadly the rat is not just gonna like explode next round, but I'm slowly weakening these rats. Alright, rats 2. I'm not going to use my defensive ability this time either. I succeeded to defend. I crit succeeded on defending. It crit failed on attacking. So rat 2, I get to do defensive ability 9. I recover 2 toughness. I get a moment of respite after fending off my opponent's attack. That's nice. Now for rat 3, and I am going to use my defensive ability here because I've got a -40 penalty on my defense. It failed. I failed. Nobody hit anybody. Nothing happened. All right, my turn. I'm using my evasive strike, which if I hit, I get a +10 bonus to my next defensive check. I'm going for. Let's go for rat number 1. Yep, I definitely succeeded on that. So unless I roll abysmally for damage, the rat will die. Okay, that's 2. That's 3 points of damage. That's enough to just explode a rat outright. Why couldn't I have done that before? Okay, so rat 1 is gone, and I will get a bonus to my next defense roll. So the rat's turn. Rat 2, or the new rat 1, I suppose, is attacking. And misses, but I make a defensive roll. Also, all these crits I've rolled, I should have marked the skill, because you get to improve it when you camp. I think it's all been on bladed weapons. Don't think I've critted on anything. I've barely rolled anything else. Okay. Anyway, defensive thing number 1. My next attack gets a +10. Okay, now for rat number 2. It got a 38. I got a 32. So it's a minus. I'm actually only on a minus. The -20 penalty is wiped out by other modifiers. So we both succeeded, but it succeeded better. So it is going to damage me, and it's doing attack number 2, which I believe is a D4. No, attack number 2 is biting, so that's a D6 damage. 3. That is 1 point of damage. All right, my turn again. Let's go for rat number 1, and I'm using my evasive strike again. We both succeeded on our rolls, but I rolled the high number, so I win. and that's at least 1 point of damage. So that is rat number 1 gone. There's only 1 rat left. The rat has pack. I've not been rolling for where I've been hitting the rats. I should be doing that. Anyway, the rat has this pack trait, which means it gets a +5 bonus from every other rat in the room. There's only 1 rat left, so its combat skill is down to 30 now. It missed. I defended, so I get to make a defensive move, number 9. I get another moment of respite. I'm getting used to the rat now. I believe I already used that +10 up. So now it is my turn. Just trading blows with this rat until one of us drops dead. I missed. I didn't declare I was using my evasive action, so I guess I wasn't. It failed to defend because its skill is now reduced. So, rat's turn. Again, both miss. My turn. I'll use the evasive maneuver. I hit. It succeeded as well, but rolled lower, so I get to deal damage. That is 2 points of damage overall. So I think I mentioned this before, but the way the damage works is if you're rolling multiple dice, so I'm rolling a d6 and a d4 here, each die independently is checked against this damage table here. So I rolled a 2 on the d6, that is 1 point of damage, and a 2 on the d4, so that is another 1 point of damage. And this is one of the things that will be changing in the new edition of Ker Nethalas, because it's kind of a pain referencing a table for every single roll. Anyway, the rat is now attacking me. And missed. We all missed. I shall attack the rat. I miss. The rat misses. Rat's turn. Rat hits. I defend. I recover some more. I think I'm leaving this fight healthier than when I went into it. My turn. Yep, I damaged the rat. And I kill the rat. That was a long and grueling fight. Okay, I get some XP from this. So I get 50 XP for defeating a combat encounter. Only 950 more to go before I level up. And I have killed 3 opponents with bladed weapons, so I get a little bit closer to this achievement, I suppose. I believe I recover some toughness and ether. Let's see. Oh, there is a fumble table. Oh, okay. Critical hits have their damage doubled. That would have been useful to have back here when it's explaining what happens. It just says a critical strike automatically wins the confrontation and a critical fumble automatically loses. So I thought that's all that happened. But a critical hit doubles the damage, and a fumble, we roll on the fumbles table. So that would have probably made the combat go much faster, as we actually had a lot of crits in there. Okay. When you're about to receive a critical hit, you can choose to sacrifice either your weapon or shield to negate it, turning it into a regular strike with this break show weapon. Okay, good to know for next time. I thought that we recover stuff after a fight. So there's something explained in ether. All ether is replenished upon entering a new room. Okay, so when we move on, that will come back. Toughness You recover D4 toughness immediately after a fight is over. Okay, let's recover that. That is 2 points of toughness. And we're also down some sanity. When does that come back? It doesn't say. I guess something will tell us if we recover sanity. I really need to get... So you can get, like, D4s that are actually possible to pick up, because I just find picking up the pyramid D4s, it's really hard, if they're on something. You can get D8 shaped D4s or D12 shaped D4s. I should probably do that. Anyway, that was a long and grueling fight against 3 rats. And where are we? We're in this room here. Let's go south and link this up. Is this a regular corridor? This doesn't... So, yeah, I don't fully understand this map here. Like, I'm pretty sure the verticality is wrong in this map. Like, see, we have a stairway going up from room 1 in the top right, which then like wraps around into this room here that we're in. But there's a stairway going down from room 2 into it. I don't really get it. Maybe it was a mistake trying to draw the map out rather than just copy over the... Yeah, I'm just gonna copy over the provided map for this starter dungeon, and then for future dungeons I will be mapping it because they will actually make sense. So I guess I'll just mark rooms that we have been in. So we have been here, here, here. And I said we were going south, so let's just go south. We will see that south is a corridor. So I believe we still need to like roll for encounters and stuff. So yes, it's a corridor. We need to roll the tension die. Our tension die is, I think it's still D8. Yep. Okay. We've got a 6, so the tension die does not go down. We need to roll a D20 for an encounter check, and then we get an encounter on a 15 or higher in a corridor. 2. No. No encounter. Okay, so we kind of follow this corridor around. We find that this door is present, I suppose. Let's see, is it locked? So D20 on 12 or higher, it is locked. It is not locked. So the door procedure, I believe we have to like commit to opening the door before we determine if there are any traps or something. Let's see. Okay, after and only after you've decided to open the lock, whether it is locked or not, so you must see if it is trapped by rolling a d10. A 7 or higher means it is trapped, then we need to roll a perception roll to see if we notice the trap in time. Where's my d10? Here it is. 8. It is trapped. We are actively opening the door, so we need to make a perception check. Our perception is 50, I think? Yeah, 50. $72. I do not notice the trap. So I need to roll on the random traps table on page 105. Let's find that. Okay, it is just a d10 to determine the sort of trap. 10. A rush of water fills the room, threatening to drag the characters and slam them against the walls, dealing bludgeoning damage. So I guess what happens is that there isn't a distinction between room traps and corridor traps. So I guess what happens is like the room beyond probably isn't flooded. Or maybe it is. There's a stairway leading up out of it. It's a trap, so there's a means to disarm this. So maybe like as I start to open the door, like a stone slides aside in the ceiling above me, and this torrent of water just like pours out upon me, threatening to like wash me down the corridor and bash me into the walls. And I need to roll athletics to withstand the deluge. So my athletics is a 30. Not amazing. I rolled a 43, so I fail to withstand the torrent of water, so I take 3d4 bludgeoning damage. Let's find a third d4. Okay, right. And it's not direct damage, so this is the damage table. So we have a 1, which is 0 damage on the table. We have a 3, which is 1 damage, and a 4, which is 1 damage. That is 2 damage. Oh, this is bludgeoning damage, which... No, bludgeoning damage ignores 1 point of armor. I'm not wearing any armor, so I just take 2 points off toughness damage. Okay. But the door is open. I am a bit bruised and sodden, but otherwise okay. And I guess I step through the door into this other unmarked... I don't know why I turned back to the map there. We've got the map over here. It's this other unmarked room. So, yes, this isn't a numbered room, so we'll need to roll for encounters and stuff. Let's look at the procedure. We roll the tension die, which is currently a d8. We've got a 3. The tension die doesn't go down. We don't need to do the lair and exit check because this is a tutorial dungeon. We do need to decrement our light source. I think I've probably missed this on one or two. I should be able to work it out. Yeah, this is the 4th room I'm going in, so I should have used up 4. No. Because I got it in the starting room. This is the 3rd room I've entered, so my light source has gone down 3 steps. That makes sense. Right, so tension die doesn't go down. We've adjusted the light source. We need to check for encounters. 3, no encounter. But we do need to check for an event, which it doesn't actually say what we need to check on this flowchart. That's a bit unfortunate. Let's see. It's somewhere in here. So, is it just roll on the events table? Okay, so there's no need to like check for an event. It's just a D100 roll to see what happens when we come into this room. 22. You found a trader. Okay, check page 221 to learn about traders. While exploring Ker Nethalas, your character will sooner or later run into a trader. These strange individuals appear in all shapes and sizes, but they all have a few distinct elements in common. Their heads are always completely wrapped in thick bandages, and they communicate only with a series of grunts and moans. It is honestly difficult to tell if they are human, but at least they are never hostile. They'll pay 50% of the price of any items you'd like to sell, and have some items for sale. Okay. I mean, I could sell my useless shield because I don't have a spare hand for it. So there's no point having it. I imagine I'm not going to get much money for it, but let's go to the armor and weapon, armor and stuff. Target shield, it costs 20, so I'll be able to get 10 coins for it, which is enough to buy like 1 cooking supply, like a single carrot. 1 crafting supply. It's not enough to buy anything. Any item from the common gear list. What is on the common gear list? I could buy 1 whole bandage. I could buy some candles. Oh, a lockpick. Could be useful to pick up a lockpick. I'm gonna pick up a spare torch actually. Okay, so I will sell my shield for 10 coins and then immediately spend those 10 coins on another torch. Because I feel like running out of light down here is probably very bad. Okay, cool. That's that room. Now, honestly, with this isometric map, it's hard to tell which things are like corridors that I should roll for encounters in and which are just like room connections. This is probably a corridor here, right? So, I don't know. Is it a corridor? Is it a room connection? I'm not sure. It's probably a corridor because it kind of leads. This is like T junction. Yeah, this is a corridor, I guess. Or maybe we go up to the door and then the corridor is beyond. Let's do that. Let's go to the door. Let's see if this door here is locked. So were we actually mapping a dungeon rather than using this weird isometric map? We have these like dungeon geomorphs, and then it is very obvious what's a corridor and what's a room, so it's easy to understand. The isometric map is a little tricky, I think. Anyway, is this door locked? Yes, it is. I don't have any lockpicks, so let's just note down that this is locked, and we shall maybe come back to it later. Right. I think I will... So for traveling back through rooms we've already been in, we don't need to roll for combat encounters, we just need to roll the tension die and the torch still goes down. So I'm going to go like back into this corridor, into this room, and then into room 4 over here. 1, 2, 3. So tension die. 1, 2, 3. Tension die hasn't gone down yet. We've used up 3 more bits of torch. No, torch doesn't go down in corridors. It's only in rooms when the torch goes down. Right, so we're now in room 4 here, which is a special room. Altar. Old, melted candles are fused into a mass of solid wax upon an altar dedicated to some mysterious goddess you do not recognize. She holds a bowl in her hands, and within it you find the brittle remains of paper prayers left there by whoever worshipped this deity. There is no event in this room, but you can find D4 candles you can still use. Nice. Which reminds me, I think I should have been able to roll scavenging checks in the rooms that I have been in to see if I could find loot. I shall... Yet another thing to try to remember going forwards. So I get 2 candles. I need to mark 1 more torch off because we went into a new room. We need to roll the tension die for going into this new room. And we can mark it off. 4. This tension die is never going to go down. Let's see, 2 candles. Add those to my inventory. So in a bit less danger of immediately running out of light. Where to next? We could just circumvent this locked door by going... I kind of want to go check out this room over here because it is a numbered location and therefore special. And this door here is locked, so that's why I've not been there. Yeah, let's head up the stairs here, which... Like just how does this go up and then this just goes around flat? I don't understand it. Whatever. Anyway, let's go up into this non-Euclidean space here. So let's do things in the right order. So first we have our attention check. Let's clear out all these dice. 4. We decrement our torch. check for an encounter. We have an encounter. So let's roll on the table. 4. Blightfang rats again. Okay. More rats to feed my bladed weapons achievements. Let's jump back to our rat description page and let's try to remember hit locations and stuff. So it occurs to me that the critical hits wouldn't have actually affected anything because the ability of this Overseer is that enemies are immune to crits. I guess that does mean enemies can still crit me, though. I just can't crit enemies. And fumbles surely still happen. Or actually, it's just enemies are immune to... Let's see, was it crits or critical hits? Let's have a look. Overseer influence. Immune to critical hits. Okay. So enemies can still fumble. I just can't critical hit enemies. It just becomes a regular hit. So that's slightly unfortunate, but it is what it is. Okay, so rats. We've got to roll initiative first. And I'm sure this will become second nature at some point. So it is my... It's just opposed perception, isn't it? Yes. Perception versus awareness. So my perception is a 50. The enemy's awareness is a 60. So they have a slight advantage. Okay, they fumbled on their initiative. I failed on my initiative. What happens if we both fail the initiative roll? Let's see. If either side rolls a critical failure, which they did, they got a 99, the opponent acts as if they had surprised them, which means on the first round, I get a plus 20 on my first attack, which is very nice. So, I shall attack rat number 1. I'm rolling against a 90, because I have the plus... No. I'm rolling against 100. So I have plus 20 from surprising them, which brings it to 80. I have plus 10 from my Weapon Master thing, which brings it to 90. And then I have plus 10 because I'm the aggressor. I'm the acting character. So I'm rolling against 100. I just need to, like... Well... I do still need to roll because they could also succeed and roll higher than me. In which case they would get to make a defensive move. I'm going to use my evasive strike. So my next defensive check should get a plus 10 unless, again, they beat me in this roll. So I'll also roll... I need to roll the hit location. They're quadrupeds. I think it was a d20. Yeah. Let's just start rolling like hit locations and damage all in one go, just to speed things up a little. Okay, so I got a 13, they got a 92, so they failed, so I definitely hit them. Got hit location 6, which is the left hind leg. That is sadly not... Left hind leg, rather, not left hind head. So it's sadly not their weak point. Their weak point is the head. Ooh, hang on. Spoils. I didn't loot the rats from before. Okay. Let's just note that down, and I'll do that after this combat. Because if they had spoils, I would surely have taken them. Anyway, so I got a... Oh, I roll with a d6 plus d4 for damage, don't I? That's a 3 and a 2. That's 2 points of damage to rat number 1. Okay, now rats attacking me. So I've got to roll my opposed D100s. I've got to roll a hit location die for the rats. I've got to roll a D6 to determine what sort of attack they're doing. And then it's either going to be a D4 or a D6 for their damage. Okay, right. I got a 76, which is a failure in my defend. I was rolling at 70. They got a 20, so rat number 1 hits. It is doing attack 4, which is the D4 plus 1, and it got a 4 on its D4, so that is 5 damage, which is 2 points of damage. And there are no crits or anything. Okay. Right. Now for rats number 2. My ether should have recovered. All the ether recovers when you go into a new room. I got a crit on my defend. Yeah, I think I actually succeeded the defend on the previous one. I forgot the sword gives me a plus 10. But let's ignore that because of the previous round. Okay, so I got a crit success on my defend. They did not crit succeed on their attack, so I win the thing. I get to roll a d10 to see what happens. It's become apparent I need more dice out for this to roll big handfuls of dice all at once. I got to do defensive move of 5. My opponent immediately suffers d4 damage, ignoring armor. They're not wearing armor. Right? They're not wearing armor. No, they're not wearing armor. Little rats wearing chainmail. Okay, 4 points of damage. It's not direct damage, so it's still via the table. So there's 1 point of damage on rat number 2. Okay, now rat number 3. Let's see, have I got all the right dice here? Yes, I do. And I will do my defensive thing here with the ether. I now got a minus 40. I suppose a minus 30 on my defend. Okay, so I failed to defend. They hit. They're doing attack 1, which is the bite that deals d6 damage. They got a 6 on the damage. I am rolling to resist that because I use my thing. I got a 4, so they're dealing 2 points of damage, which I'm reducing by 1 point of damage, so 1 point of damage in total. I think I'm starting to get the hang of this. So now it's my turn. I'll do a defensive strike as usual. Okay, 50, that is a hit. 97, they failed to defend. So I hit location 7, which is not the head. The head is 19 or 20. Okay, so I'm dealing 6 plus 4, that is 2. But okay, I didn't say which rat I was attacking. Realistically, it would have been rat 1. So rat 1 is dead. But yes, I should have declared which rat I was attacking first. Now it is the rat's turn. Their combat ability drops down by 5 because they have the pack tactics. And there's now only 2 of them. Okay. 27 to hit, so that's a hit. I got a 30. I rolled 2 d20s rather than a... D10. I got a 30-something. A 39 to defend. They got a 27. Okay, so I successfully defended. So I get to make a defensive maneuver. 6. Your next attack deals plus D10 damage. Nice. Okay, and now rat number 2. I crit failed on my defend there, and the rat has hit. So let's just have a look at the fumble and see what that means. Okay, so yes, when you fumble, you must roll upon the fumble table. Let's I guess resolve the rat damage first, and then I shall do the fumble. So it has hit. It's doing attack 5, so that's the D4 plus 1. So 2, 3, 1 points of damage, and a fumble is D10. Fumble number 5. You suddenly feel drained and lose D8 ether. If you don't have any ether, you receive 1 direct damage. Okay. So D8 ether. That's a D12. Here's a D8. 6 ether. Okay. Alright, now it is my turn again. I'm going to attack rat number 2, the fresh rats, because I have this bonus to my damage. So I think there's a pretty good chance I will take out a rat. I hope. Okay, so I got my D100s, my D6, D4, and I don't have a spare D10, so I'll get that in a moment. I'll roll that again afterwards if it's still alive. And a D20 for a hit location, yes. Okay, it failed to defend. I got a 1 to hit it, so it's good that it failed to defend because I got the worst possible success. I got hit location 15, which is not the head, so I dealt 5 plus 3 plus 3 damage. So that is 2, 3, 4, 4 damage. Okay, rat number 2 explodes. Now it is the rat's turn. My D100, D20, 2 D6s, and a D4. I didn't say I was doing a defensive strike, so I guess I wasn't. Okay, I got a 50 to defend. The rat got a 29 to hit. That means I succeeded because I got a better roll. So I do defensive maneuver number 2. Reduce your opponent's armor by 1. It doesn't have any armor. Okay. Do I reroll if it doesn't apply? I suppose so. Let's do that. 9. Recover 2 toughness. Okay. Now it is my turn. Surely I can deal at least 2 damage in a single go. 77. I crit failed on that one. My second crit fail in this combat. Okay. Let's see what I did. 4. A random item from your belt breaks. If you don't have a belt, you receive 1 direct damage. Okay. Right, now it is the rat's turn. 59. So I got a pretty good defense roll there. It got an 82, so it failed to attack. So defend, I got 2. That was the defense. That was the armor, wasn't it? Let's redo that. 6. Next attack deals plus d10 damage. Okay, now my attack. Come on. Come on. $68. Yep, that's a miss again. It got a 37, which I believe is a miss. Is not a successful defensive action. Yeah, okay. So neither of us did anything. This one rat is giving me a lot of trouble. $94, I failed to defend. 7, it hits. It does attack 4, which is the scratch. So I'm taking 1 damage. Okay. Come on. Let's attack it with a defensive thingy. $78, that is not a successful defend. I got a 69, which is that is nice in this context because I have a plus 10 to hit, which I may have missed sometimes. I think I forgot about that in a few rounds and maybe missed something I should have hit. Oh well. That's a 3 and a 2. Okay, I do deal 2 points of damage to it. Right, okay. I've killed the rats. So the 50 XP. Have I missed any XP? I don't think I have missed any XP. Also, I am going to give myself 50 XP for entering a new domain. I've entered the first domain. That counts, right? I haven't successfully dismantled the traps. I can't get XP for that. Okay, I've taken out 3 more enemies. So down to 44 opponents to kill. And I have rats to loot. So it says spoils resources table. Let's go have a look at that. Okay, so I assume it's not the case that each rat has... Maybe each rat does have something. I know, it's 3 rats. They can't carry much stuff amongst them, so I'm going to assume it is 1 roll. It actually probably says at the beginning of the combat encounters. Let's have a look. Spoils. Yeah, it doesn't say that we roll multiple times. So I'm going to assume that because it's a rat, they can't, like, each rat isn't carrying like a little thing. So I'm gonna get 2 rolls in this, one for this fight and one for the previous fight. 6, a cooking supply, quite possibly a rat. And 2, nothing of value. Okay, I have a rat on a stick. Cooking supplies, here we go. Alright. Where we were here, right? Yeah. We were here. Okay, so that is that room. Done. Okay, wow, it's 3 hours already. Okay, I'm gonna check this door. If this door is unlocked, I'm gonna go into the numbered room because I want to check out this numbered room before ending stream. But then I guess we'll be finishing this dungeon next time. So let's see. Is it locked? 7. I believe that's a no. It is not locked. Okay. I guess we need to check for traps as well, though. Oh, traps is a D10. Did I roll a D20 last time for traps, maybe? I think I might have done. Okay, so there's actually only a 7 plus. There's only a 4 in 10. Right, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's only a 4 in 10 chance. Not a super high chance as there would be with a D20. Okay, right, it is not trapped, so we're gonna kick open the door. I guess we don't make a tension check because it's a defined room. There's no event in this room. Okay, I guess we do still need to roll the tension die. Is it ever going to go down? No. We lose a point of light. Good thing I bought an extra torch because it's nearly out. Although we do also have candles. Right, we're not having an encounter in this room because it is a special thing and there is no event. So, another unfortunate soul. It is clearly you're not the first one here. Others have come before you. In front of you lies the relatively recent corpse of another one of those unfortunate souls. A quick check reveals they have 2 cooking supplies and 10 crafting supplies on them. Their misfortune might be what ends up saving your life. Okay, let's note those down. So 2 cooking supplies, someone 3 cooking supplies, and 10 crafting supplies. Okay, let's just see rooms I've been in. Are there any doors in rooms I've been in? So there's a door here. Okay, there are doors here. Let's check if these doors are locked so that I know for next time. 4, 6. Okay, these doors are not locked. Let's indicate that. So I think indicating which doors we know about. Oh, this one is also obviously this one must be open because I've been in here. But yeah, it's useful to know about if I'm traveling through the dungeon because for next time I won't remember which doors I've checked. So yeah. Okay. I guess I kind of hoped that we'd get through the starter dungeon this this first day, but we didn't. Oh, let's roll for this door as well. I've been in that room. I could have plausibly checked it on the way through. Nope, that is open as well. Is that not really? Oh, that's more of a blob. Okay, right. Any more? I don't think so. I think that's all of them. Yeah, I kind of hope we would get through the starter dungeon this first session, but we didn't. So there's still about half the dungeon left to go, and we've somehow not reduced our tension die at all yet. It's not very tense, I suppose. It is a very relaxed dungeon, perhaps. But yeah, we will pick this up Monday next week. I think there might be some stuff around sessions, streams next week, but I think it might be the Friday and Saturday streams next week that don't happen. The Monday one I think should be fine. I'll know more towards the end of the week. So yeah, we'll pick it up next time and finish exploring this first domain, and hopefully we'll be able to get through that reasonably promptly now that we're kind of getting used to things, and then move on to the second domain, which is where we'll actually be rolling up rooms using the dungeon geomorphs and mapping as we go. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.